Serious gay men of Reddit, have you ever met a hetero couple, where you instantly knew the boyfriend/husband was secretly gay? If so, how did you find out?
I've definitely met married men who instantly seemed gay to me. But I never say anything about it, because it's not my business, and I don't need to be stirring up drama in anyone's life.
My ex is gay and we found out together. I always had a feeling that he might be gay. It was a rather tumultuous thing for him since he is from a culture where homosexuality isn't discussed openly. I'm happy that I was able to support him emotionally through a stressful time in his life. Things are fine now and he is super happy with who he is. Smiley face. I am super happy for him too, and also super happy that we found out 2 years into the relationship and not 20.
It took us 30 years and 3 kids before he found out, sad face. I love my kids, but other than them, my whole life was wasted with him.
If you don't mind me asking, how does something like this happen? Just denial by him for many years?
He may have lied to himself about the gay part. He did tell me after our 3rd child, that he always wanted to be a woman. But definitely was not gay because he liked women. But then he started taking something for hair loss from Europe, and it turns out it was increasing his female hormones, and the more he took the more he liked. It seemed to release this inner person that had never been out before. He refused to tell anyone but me, and so I had to keep this secret for a very long time. Our children finally are of the age to start their lives and they have no idea why we are separating. I feel like it was a waste for me because now I'm old and have to start over. After a couple of years of taking it, he started dreaming of men. So now who knows? We have just started the divorce process. And no, he still has not come out.
Sounds more transgender than gay. I hope you both are able to move on to happy, fulfilling lives once the dust settles.
Me too. I know homosexual people used to marry to protect themselves, but it was never necessary. Look at how widely the words spinster and bachelor are used in classic literature. Sometimes people never married for whatever reason. To use up a whole other person's life to cover your tracks is selfish and cruel.
You can't assume they knew the whole time, though. Denial is a powerful thing. People can convince themselves they're in love and only realize in hindsight it was never really romantic. There was and is enormous social pressure to be straight and get married. People buy into it and manage to convince themselves. It's tragic for both people, really. I'd expect that denial is more common than maliciously tricking somebody into marrying you.
It wasn't necessary? Until the last 100 or so years, in a lot of societies a daughter would just be sold off to whoever offered the best deal for her. She didn't get a choice, and sometimes the husband didn't either. If you were gay, you kept your mouth shut. Even when you weren't forced to be married, you'd be socially ostracized and possibly cut off from your family and/or your family's resources and inheritance. You'd be acknowledged as a freak by your whole community. Thank God that's changed since the 60s in America. I wouldn't marry or have kids even if I was straight. At least now my family will just express their disappointment in my choices and sling insults my way when grandchildren are discussed.
I wouldn't say instantly, but I have been contacted by one, via Facebook Messenger, that asked me how I knew that I was gay and what the process was like coming out. He has a kid and thinks he is gay but doesn't want to leave the relationship because of his kid, and honestly it's a tough spot to be because if you stay, is that fair to the person you are with? Is it fair to you? On the other hand, if you leave, how hard will it be on her and the kid? That was 5 years ago. He is still in the same relationship.
The problem is people change or don't always know who they truly are at the start of a relationship. I don't think any closeted gay man went into their relationship giddy by the thought that they were secretly gay and wanting to destroy someone else's life. It's delusion induced by an unaccepting society. Just in the same way how no one is trying to get pregnant just so they can abort their babies, you have to look at the situation with nuance. Bad outcomes can arise from even people with the best intentions, and to just dismiss people for those bad outcomes as if their intentions were also bad is extremely myopic. People have to be able to live their truths, and while sometimes that means others will be hurt, it's extremely selfish for someone to expect someone they love to live a lie just to preserve some fantasy.
I found out because he was checking me out. And then told me he was going to come out to his family. We hung out a bit and it was nice. One time while walking into work I slipped on the ice and he caught me and kept his arm around me as we ice shuffled in. I asked him what he'd do if anyone thought anything inappropriate and he said he didn't care. He got a divorce, his wife was a cheater, and we reconnected and now we're happily married 8 years later.
Gaydar is never 100%, and there are plenty of hetero married bi people who confuse the issue even further. I feel like the only people I've ever looked at and thought that guy is gay as bleep were either people who were married so they didn't get disowned or something, this used to be pretty common, or religious people who were lying to themselves. In the first case, everyone usually knew. I dated a girl whose dad hit on me constantly, which was a bit pervy because I was underage, and a bit horrifying because I still thought I was straight at that point, and it was really bleeping confusing. I finally mentioned it to the girl, that he was hitting on me, not that I kinda liked it, and she said, "Oh, yay. He likes guys. I'm not even sure he's my dad. Yay. But they never got divorced. Lot of other drama there though, as you'd expect. With the second sort man, they can keep that lie up forever. So a lot of times you never know if they're gay or not, unless they finally get caught or something."
I was in the subway station leaning against my then boyfriend. We were a fairly good-looking, young couple. This middle-aged man and his wife were across the platform waiting for the opposite subway. He was staring at us quite a bit and was really bad at hiding it. At first I usually just think that maybe people don't see a lot of gay PDA. After a few minutes she was noticing him stare for prolonged periods of time. She looked troubled by that.
Oh, I feel bad for that wife. Skeptical smiley face.
I feel bad for the wife for sure, but I can't help feeling sorry for the husband as well. Perhaps he was just wondering, what if he had been born in this day and age, would he be as happy as you and your then boyfriend looked at that moment?
Am bi. Met more than my share of men that said some variation of my wife knows and is understanding.
In high school there was a girl I knew who was dating a really cute boy who was a year older than us. I had a feeling the dude swung the other way, but I found out when I saw him on Grindr while he was dating her. Now he's openly gay. Good for him, I guess.
This is going to sound horrible, but I found that happened a lot at my high school. If a really good-looking guy was dating a not-so-hot girl, he came out as gay later on. It actually happened to me. I was not cute in high school at all and freshman year dated a Jared Leto lookalike. I couldn't believe I landed him and at the same time was surprised I felt absolutely no chemistry. We mutually broke up and sure enough, he came out the next year.
IDK one time I had a boss who seemed gay to me. Super fashionable, soft voice, lots of effeminate hand gestures, really into social justice. Turns out he's married to a woman he met in high school with 2 kids. It's best to not make assumptions and live your own life, because there aren't concrete ways to know without someone telling you they are gay. Also, someone could be in a heterosexual relationship and be bisexual. Limitless possibilities. Edit, y'all. I'm not saying those qualities make someone gay. I'm saying that those are societal stereotypes of gay men that clearly don't actually mean anything about someone's sexual orientation.
I worked at a hotel. My coworker was gay and had an app that would make his phone beep when a gay man came near with the same app. A family man came in with his family. My coworker's phone went beep. That man pulled my coworker aside and begged him not to say anything to his wife.
My great uncle is definitely gay. You can tell by his demeanor and the way he acts around young men, also by his wife, horrible Karen-esque woman. The most horribly ironic part of it all is that he was a gay conversion therapist for most of his life.
This isn't quite what the question is, but I feel compelled to answer nonetheless. Youngest of 4 kids, my father came out as gay to my family and I when I was 9 years old and 3 months shy of my parents' 20th anniversary. I'm now a junior in college, and honestly I have always felt somewhat shamed by my situation. Over the past several years, I have started to appreciate the uniqueness of my situation, but a part of me always feels that my mother regrets marrying my dad. My mom and dad still have a pretty good relationship, but every day I ask myself how happy she is considering the circumstances. I know she loves me and my siblings more than anything in the world, but I can't help but feel for her. She thought she had married the love of her life, then she learned one day that it was all based on a lie. However, I also am compelled to support my dad. From what he has told me, he wasn't really certain he was gay until later in life. I'm unsure whether he realized it before or after he married my mom, but like many gays, he always knew from a young age that something was different.
When I was in my 20s and still closeted, I met a friend for dinner in Toronto, where she introduced me to her new boyfriend. I ended up driving them back to the States that night, and while my friend fell asleep in the back seat, the boyfriend and I chatted. I don't have great gaydar, but by the time we got back over the border I was convinced he was gay. Not that he confessed anything or was hitting on me. We didn't really talk about anything too personal, as I recall. I'm not sure how I knew, but I had a pretty strong feeling. I lost touch with them, but when I ran into her a couple years later she told me that they had broken up, and that he had come out.
Dating apps mostly. One time Grindr pinged a guy being within 100 feet of me. Though someone must have driven by my house, but the guy wasn't moving. I left my room to look out the window and one of my dad's buddies was over checking out some project. He is married with kids and I grew up with his daughter. According to his profile at the time, he liked taking big donk.
I have met a few couples where I instantly knew, but I always kept my mouth shut about it. It's between the two of them, and if he isn't cheating or anything it's none of our business. Some people are closeted because of their families, or denial, religion, etc. Sometimes the spouse is aware and sometimes they don't, but it's not really up to us to out someone. Now there was one time where I was friends with a married couple. The guy tried making a move on me a couple of different times. I instantly shot that down each time and it totally weirded me out cause each time he got more direct about it. I tried to bring it to the wife's attention that it was weird and made me uncomfortable without outing him, but she was just making excuses for him like, oh he's just a touchy guy. Or, he just acts that way with all his buddies. She basically said I was being overdramatic about the situation. I kinda started to distance myself from both of them after that. She still always invites me to events and says how much her husband misses me and stuff. Big yikes.
I came out to my dad during Christmas 2017. He confirmed what I already knew by coming out in return, and people still think it's not at least somewhat biological. We both told my brother that Christmas. It was as awkward as it sounds. I knew he was gay since I was a teenager, 25 now, because I saw an email he sent his pastor talking about how he struggled with his sexuality all his life. I thought he might resent the fact he passed it on to me, so I waited to come out to him till I was out of the house. Turns out that's the inspiration he needed to tell me in return.
I'm a cashier in a grocery store. This couple and their 2 kids were at my cash register and I felt like I had seen the dad somewhere before, but not his wife or kids. Something about him just made me think he was gay. And well, a couple of hours later I opened Grindr and guess who I see?
Hetero man here. I've had guys think I was gay a lot. Constantly hit on by men who are gay and say their gaydar goes off hard for me. I am fairly flamboyant but very much straight. Just saying, for the sake of this thread, they aren't always correct. No one can know for sure what is going on in someone else's head,